I'm Lydia.
I'm Ed.
We're friends with a playlist for everything. And it turns out we both have one called Survival Songs.
And it got us thinking, what are other people's survival songs?
So we thought we'd find out.
Welcome to Survival Songs,
A podcast where each episode our guest tells us about a song that gets them through the best and worst of times.
Sensitive topics might be discussed.
So look after yourself.
The show contains portions of copyrighted material.
We'd love for you to support and celebrate the artists by streaming, downloading and buying their brilliant music. And go give our guests a follow on social media.
Help us grow the community of survival song listeners by joining us over on Substack and add to our public playlist on Spotify. Links are in the show notes.
We hope you enjoy the show.
Hello, welcome to Survival Songs. My name's Ed. And today we're joined by Testament. I've known Testament for about 20 years. We met at the cockpit at a rap battle. We in fact battled each other. He obviously won. I will get my revenge one day. For those of you who don't know him, Testament is a true Renaissance man. And I'm probably going to miss out one of his credits, but he is a rapper, beatboxer, producer, spoken word artist, writer, theatre maker and performer. His theatre work includes Black Men Walking, Orpheus at the Record Shop and Woke. He's written for the likes of the BBC and Netflix. His work is known for exploring identity, race and social justice. And he's recognised for his contributions not only to the hip-hop scene, but to the creative community as a whole. He's a true leader and a true gent, and I'm absolutely delighted to have him on. We're going to speak to Testament in a minute, but before we do, let's hear a small section of his survival song. This is I Am the True Vine, written by Arvo Part and performed by the Pro Arte Singers, directed by Paul Hillier. So that was I Am the True Vine by the Pro Arte Singers, directed by Paul Hillier. And that was the survival song of today's guest, Testament. Hello, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, not bad. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. What a beautiful piece of music and our first choral piece of music on Survival Songs. I just was like immersed in it. I was wondering when it first arrived in your life, how did it arrive and what was your reaction to it?
Okay, growing up as a teenager in particular and my faith journey, there was like a scripture that meant a lot to me, which was from the Gospel of John, I am the true vine. And basically it's like, the idea is, if you keep centered in doing the right thing, having your heart open, having your, having your intentions good, basically, then God, the universe, insert whatever power bigger than yourself you need, will tend you like a gardener, basically, and make sure that you're growing in the right direction. So that was scripture, meant loads to me. And then who was I talking to? A hip hop drummer, Cousin Jay, who was in sort of a soul jazz gospel tinge thing I was in Leeds called Today's Mathematics. Cousin Jay was playing Arvo Part, this Estonian composer, and I thought it was really beautiful. And then I went into HMV back in the day and went into the classical department and looked for Arvo Part and was like, okay, this is an amazing composer, I need to find out more. And there was an album called I Am the True Vine by Arvo Part. And I was like, what? That's my favourite line. And that means a lot to me and got me through tough times and stuff. The I Am the True Vine there is sung in English, the version that I picked up and the version I think you just played. And it's got like, you just basically read out the whole chapter in the Bible basically and sing it. But then just sonically, like they've even taken the meaning of the words away. Sonically, it is stunning, and it's just the power of the human voice. the power of humanity to try and reach beyond itself and to try and comfort and to try and encourage. It's really powerful. And yeah, when I'm stuck or when I'm in a bad place, like that will often be my go-to.
There's kind of a couple of things I want to pick up on. Firstly is that you come from hip hop, and in fact, that's how we met. And I think there's a kind of a music snobbery around hip hop, and like people tend to be like, "Oh, you listen to hip hop? Oh, but you also listen to choral music." And actually, I think what people don't really understand is that when you make hip hop, because hip hop is essentially all music, right? We because of sample culture, we're listening to everything, and actually our palettes are so wide. You know, hip hop producers in particular, they're listening to like jazz albums, they're listening to classical albums, because not only to find beats, but because they're just like soaking it all in, right?
Like the best producers. So if you're talking about legends, you know, RZA from Wu-Tang or DJ Premier or Kanye before he fell off a bridge, you know, they really are like open to stuff. And then it's great because it stops hip hop from going into a cul-de-sac and all sounding the same. When you're constantly searching for, you just love music, but you're constantly searching for the new sound. But even as an MC and as a rapper, like it's a kleptomaniac art form, you know. So even like lyrical ideas or references to other texts. So my favorite British rapper is Jest, and you know, I think listening to the last album, I'm hearing bits of Charles Dickens. I'm hearing, you know, references to Bukowski. I'm talking, you know, you're hearing stuff from adverts. I'm hearing turns of phrase that your mum would say, all in the same song, you know. So, and it makes it really interesting, and it pushes the art form forward, standing on the shoulders and all that. I think you can't really limit people. And something I like about this current generation, is that, you know, when I was growing up, you were either into that or you were into that. And now actually, you know, you're talking to young people and they're into like, you know, a wide spectrum of stuff.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, that kind of, that tribalism, which is sort of weirdly celebrated, particularly by like 40-year-old men who think it was great that we were all tribal. I think it was terrible. I think it was a really awful thing. And like actually seeing these kids who will listen to Taylor Swift and then listen to some kind of left field like Japanese import, you know, that is, you know, that's only available on a Twitch stream is incredible. I love that sort of nature of people. And, you know, again, kind of comes back to kind of that you know, that idea of that magpieing and that sort of like, we're all made of, you know, music is all made of, it's all informed by each other, right?
Yeah, I mean, culture, music, life, recipes. You know, in Little Britain, for all its flaws, because we've always had immigration and stuff like that. You know, that's what makes that's the cool bit, and that's the positive bit. So. Yeah, and also like if we are listening to each other's stories and voices and cultures and stuff, then there's a chance for conversation and peace and greater empathy, basically, and ways we can comfort each other, because life is flipping out sometimes, you know.
Absolutely. I sort of want to go back as well to the kind of choral nature of this, because kind of the voice is so central to your work. You know, like, you know, being a beatboxer and an MC and a singer, like, so is that why sort of a piece like this resonates so wide with you?
I don't, maybe like, yeah, I mean, I mean, the voice and like exploring the human voice and the possibilities of the human voice is like, as a composer and as a hip hop artist as well, like, mega part of who I am and what excites me. And as a theatre maker as well, like, yeah, I'm always excited by that. And like, what can we do with nothing, you know? And like, that's a very hip hop thing as well. What can you make out of like just what you've got to hand or just your hip body?
What makes it a survival song for you? Why do you reach for it? When was, you know, what is the driving force behind reaching particularly for that record?
I think it is comforting, but also it can speak to, you know, if your heart's open. I think there's like, even in terms of how the chords move through the piece, it kind of there was a lullaby quality to it. Particularly the way in which the lower voices, the male voices, complement the sopranos. So like you get this sense of tension and release. I guess the high voice can speak to like being young, and the low voice can being sensitive, like your mum giving you a hug or a mug of Horlicks or Bovril or what, insert favourite warm drink. Hot Vimto for me, please. Yeah, you know, like, so I guess there's the sonically it speaks to that as well, especially when you feel alone and you need to feel like it feels like a sonic hug.
We all need those, right? We all know the sonic hugs, and they're important. Can you listen to this purely as a fan, like quite emotionally, and just kind of almost turn that analytical brain off and just kind of absorb the emotion?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the other thing of listening to genre which you don't operate in. Well, I do a bit of classical from time to time, but like not really. So yeah, and the words, because although they're sung in a very choiry / opery kind of way, if you really listen out for the words, you can make out what they're saying. But then if you're not listening out for it, it just becomes like a wave of syllables and goes a bit Sigur Rós, which is also cool. So yeah, I tend not to analyze it actually, and just kind of receive it, like a meditation or a prayer, and like, yeah, kind of a bit of a sound bath.
And that thing where we can just be fans for a while, I think is really important, like you say, and that ability to then switch off your analytical brain, which ultimately puts you more in a state of rest, right?
Yeah. I think that's part of it. But then it's dense enough to like, if you did want to go analyze, like, it's really rich.
Testament, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people find your work? Where can they find? Tell people where they can find you.
Classified. Testament, Homecut. Homecut is my producer. So Testament I use when I'm being a vocalist and rapping and writing plays, and then Homecut I tend to use as a music producer. I mean, it's a bit interchangeable these days, but so Testament, Homecut.com, and then I don't have a newsletter. I should probably sort one out. Someone was talking to me about half an hour ago about I should have a newsletter. And then Testament. I did my Testament online on X. Hate saying X, and then on Instagram, Testament Homecut. Yeah. Or if you just go into Google and put in Testament beatboxer rapper, I'll tend to come up.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us today. And it's been lovely to talk to you.
Oh, wicked! Big up.
Take care.
We really hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to support the podcast further, you can choose to upgrade your subscription on Substack. But most of all, we'd just love it if you told your friends about what we're up to. Thanks for listening.